Oh yeah, there it is, y'all. No truer words have ever been spoken by my brother Chuck D, a public enemy. Fight the powers that be. Well, listen, y'all. Welcome back to All Politics of Local America's number one political hip hop radio talk show, broadcasted live every Friday from 6 to 9. And then, of course, y'all know if it is the third Friday, y'all know it is the mayor's forum, and of course, our brother is in the building. I almost want to say he gets jiggy with it, but I'm afraid to say that because I'll be telling my age like Will Smith, man. He made that kind of popular today. But listen, y'all, we're going to have a real big show tonight. Of course, y'all know this is the 24th anniversary of the Million Man March, and I'm sure when me and the mayor talk about that, he's going to have some things to share about that because that was a memorable time back in 1995. So we're going to talk a little bit about that on the mayor's forum with our brother, and then of course Asia Norton is going to be in the building, and we're going to talk about the importance of having black teachers. I'm sure Mayor Baraka knows something about that as well. Himself having been a teacher, and then of course a principal, and gone through that process, and I know myself what that meant for me growing up, and being in the African class at it's going to take you back, man, to the old Robert Treat when it was Marcus Garvey,
Oh, yeah.
when your dad was a teacher there, and he used to do these African classes, man, and what that meant to me back in the day, and so we're going to talk to a couple of brothers about that who are educators in our community, and then of course DJ Ronald going to close the show out. DJ Ronald going to do what he do, and all I can say is everything comes off of the dome of DJ Ronald. I mean that's a real DJ, right? So and we are going to start doing that, DJ Ronald. We are going to put together your playlist after the show. We're going to start putting that together so people can get that. All right. So DJ Ronald's in the building right now. You want to say what's up, DJ Ronald, to the people?
Yeah, what's good?
All right. He said what's good. And then, of course, when we get into the 6:30 hour, we're going to talk a little bit about the Million Man March with the mayor and our brothers in the building, Minister Abdul Haq Muhammad Amas, number 25. He's going to talk about it. And by the way, Mayor, when we was down there in 1995, I think he was about 10 or maybe 15 years old. So but we'll talk about that. So listen, this is not my show. This is the mayor's show. So I'm gonna give it over to my brother, Mayor Raz J. Barack of the great city of Newark, New Jersey.
Yes, sir. Glad to be here as usual. Third Friday, WRNU. It's a pleasure to be here. It's interesting you talk about the Million Man March too. We do our men's meetings every second Friday.
Right.
This past second Friday, we had the guy from Montana, the Montana Corporation, who came. I got on him and made him hit the corporation come to the men's meeting, and he basically told the guys that he got a $40 million contract to replace lead service lines, and there wasn't a peep out of the audience. Then I got up there and I had to hit him like, what are y'all,
Right.
all of the stuff that goes on. Somebody come before you in your town and say they got a $40 million contract, and nobody has a question for them.
Right.
Visit them outside the hallway, talk to them. Nothing. I thought that was problematic.
Right.
So we, a couple of guys later on said they ran him down and said a few things to him, but that in and of itself, should spark something that just proves that we still in the mindset that we in is just still not where it needs to be. Right. It was a guy in there raising his hand, asking about what we're going to do about the homeless situation. Another guy raised his hand, what we're going to do about abandoned properties. I answered those questions, but and I had to tell him this is the men's meeting here, y'all.
Right.
We are in this meeting talking about how to empower ourselves. Right. There's other meetings you can go to talk about what's going to happen, with different things in the community and all this other thing. to lodge your issues, your protests, your complaints, and what the government should be doing for you, and they should. Government should be doing a lot of things for people. That's what democracy is about.
Right.
But this is a meeting about self-determination.
Right.
Somebody get before you and say they have $40 million, and the only thing that you could, the only thing you could say is like, what's going to happen with the abandoned houses?
Right.
Well, you should be getting some of this money so you could open up, build some of those abandoned properties.
Right.
But our mindset is like, it's not there.
Mm.
And we have to change it tremendously, man. It's just too much happening in and around this city for us to have this kind of mind that somebody's going to do something for us, right? And I'm all for the fight for democracy and rights. I think people ought to do stuff for us. They owe us a lot of stuff,
right?
But history has proven to us that they ain't gonna give it to us, right? So at the end of the day, we have to begin to create opportunities for ourselves and our families, and that was the topic of the discussion that Friday, because it essentially we upset with people for opening stores in our neighborhood and not hiring our children.
That's right.
And those people opening up stores to hire their own children,
right,
and put their own family to work, and they should do that. That's what people should do, right? In any event, we should be thinking about how we do that for our own community, our own families, and I think that's important part of the discussion that we miss out on, and folks don't want us to have that discussion, right? They don't want us to go in that direction and talk about those specific things, but that's what we need to be.
But let me ask you this though: why do you think, we're afraid to have those kind of discussions?
Oh, I just think we inadequate, man. That we don't have the resources or the capability or the authority even to do the things that are doing that other people, can do this and we don't. And somebody holding us back from doing it. I mean, people have been holding us back for over 40 years, right? So by the end of the day, I'm glad that there were some people throughout history that even in the midst of being held back, pushed forward anyway, right? So, we just have to figure out how to collectively do things, how to cooperate with one another, how to put our ego aside and cooperate with each other and build what we need to build collectively. And it's difficult for us to do that because of the feeling of self-hatred that we have towards one another. We more astute at harming each other than we are at building and being cooperative with one another. And we that just has to change, right? It absolutely has to change if we want to move forward and do something different. What's going on? Anytime a man come in your house and tell you he got a $40 million contract, your grandmother can't even go to the store with $20 without people diving on him.
Right.
And here's a man come in your building and say he has $40 million that he's gonna get in 10 months, and you don't even have a question. Right. No assertiveness, no confidence, no aggressiveness, nothing.
Wow.
Just silence. And it just means we have a lot of work to do. It means we have a lot of work to do.
And so the gentleman that got the $40 million contract, you said within 10 months, is that what he's going to be paid in 10 months or?
Sure, over a 10-month period. That's what he's going to own. He's going to earn that over 10-month period.
Wow.
To fix lead service lines. Essentially, to replace pipes, to dig holes, to replace pipes, to cover holes up,
right?
And connect pipes to other pipes, right? And he not launching a nuclear rocket, right? He not a physicist, right? These are companies. Folks have plumbing certifications, contracts. They can certainly dig holes. Right. We have all kind of opportunities that we're creating for people. So the meeting before that, I told the gentleman, look, this is what's going on. Right. While most of the city is mesmerized by Channel 7, 4, NJ.com, all of the other New York Times, Star Ledger, these problems exist so they can solve them, right? And so there's $120 million on the street to find a solution to this problem. We should be a part of that solution. And so then the following meeting, I brought one of the guys who got the contracts to the meeting. After we pressured them and say, look, you got to hire local residents. You have to do this, you have to do that. So he came to the meeting looking for people to hire and subcontract with, and he get up there and say, I have that, our eyes just open up like saucers, and we just don't respond in the way that we need to respond. And nobody is going to lay out for us what needs to happen.
Right.
We have to lay it out ourselves. And that's just not that issue. Like everything that goes on around here, man, is even our organizing. Somebody from some other community from out of town somewhere come in our community, rile everybody up, and get you moving in a specific direction. And you actually follow them before you follow your own folks in your own neighborhood, in your own community, and believe what they say. And the reality is, it's just not the same, man. It's just not the same as 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And I'm not romanticizing it, because I know back then was hard and difficult. People were getting killed, set up, locked up, deported, all kind of stuff was happening. But at least, people read and were focused and analyzed and understood what was going on. We don't. At this point, man, it feels like every man for himself.
That's interesting, because that's sort of the conversation I wanted to have with you, and bring Hawk into that, because I think that one of the things is that you were at the Million Man March 24 years ago, right?
That's right.
And I was there, and me, Bashir, and some of the other brothers, we all were down there, and I don't know how you felt, but I can tell you, man, that morning when I walked to the mall and saw all them brothers converging from everywhere, right? I had never seen nothing like that in my life. And then, for all of us to be there, and as that day wore on, you saw more and more brothers. And I think that it felt, I've never, I've had some spiritual experiences in my life.
Yeah.
But I can remember that being there, I had never been in the presence of that many men at one time in my life. And remember, there was no issue with none of us, man.
That's right.
And do you remember when the minister called for the raising of the money? And do you remember how the garbage bag was above our heads, and they were just passing them bags straight ahead?
And nobody stole anything.
Nobody stole a dime.
Yeah, I went down there the night before. My brother was still down there in D.C. He was at Howard, still in the. My couple of guys that I was with, we went down there and spent the night there. I think we thought we overslept. We jumped up real quick, threw our clothes on, and ran down the street. It was like hundreds of guys came towards the mall. It was crazy, man. It was unbelievable.
And so in that vein, what do you think? Because remember, we were saying, "Long live the Million Man Spirit, Million Man March Spirit." And then, based on what you're saying now, and you think about, somebody got a $40 million contract and brothers don't make a move. Where's that spirit gone, man?
Well, I think
24 years later,
it was up to us to keep it going, right? To continue to do the things once we got home. And so the $40 million contract since then, you're talking about 1994, right? 2004, 2014, 2019, 95, yeah. Right. All these years, I mean, you're talking about decades at this point. I mean, we should have the company that could get the $40 million.
Right.
By then.
That's right.
We should actually have the company, right, that is able to replace lead services in our own city.
But what happened, man? What something happened to us, right? Because we didn't leave there like that. Remember, I know you were on. I was on fire when I got back.
Sure. And I think we get hyped up. We mobilize well. We always mobilize well. We can mobilize something going on. We can mobilize. It's the organization after that. Like how do you organize people and keep it going and get people. And that's why these people like these so-called progressives and leftists have trouble, because they trying to organize people off events, off of things that happen. Like somebody got killed, so we all gonna get together. Right. Then we get together for a month, 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and it's over. And some of them realize that those events don't come often. Like so they over exaggerate something. Like I can hear people on TV. 30 people got killed this weekend, and no, that's not true. Right. But they think if they do that's somehow going to organize people to get them to respond in the way that they want them to respond. And it's really misleading. The only thing the thing that organized me is the thing that I have to use to organize other people, and that's information.
Mm-hmm.
Information. You give people information, you give them understanding,
Right.
knowledge. That moves people, right? The information and the knowledge, having opportunities for people to come together and study those things. And when your mind grows, you constantly moving in that direction, and you bringing other people with you. You organizing them around things that y'all begin to have in common, not off of something bad happened to us. Because something bad has been happening to us for 400 years, right? So if something bad happening to us has not got us out of this situation yet, then we can't wait for something bad to happen to us, right? We have to organize so that we can prevent bad things from happening to us, and begin to move our community in the direction that we need it to go on. We can't wait for something to happen to our family, to us, for us to get angry enough to do something about it. I mean, that's a bad history should tell us that that's not what we need, right? We need folks. People got to have knowledge in their head. They got to have passion in their heart, like courage and those kind of things. And only information gives you that. When you understand who you are and you get the right information, then you begin to march on the right path. And I think people don't have the right information. Sometimes now, because of the internet and all this other stuff, they don't have any information. It's almost like,
even though they have all this access to get information.
That's right. It's an old war thing. When you defend all fronts, you defend none.
Wow.
Right. So at the end of the day, like, all of this stuff is so available to them that they take it for granted. They don't focus on specific things and drill down on it, right? Like I always been saying, like the internet is a signpost. It's not. It points you into a direction. It's not the stop, right? It says go left, go right. People take those signposts as the location, as the destination. That's not the destination. People call me on. I do radio. People call me and say, "Well, just Google this." Google it.
Right.
You can Google anything.
Right.
You can Google anything and find out something that may satisfy your point because you Google. Because anybody can put anything on the internet.
That's right.
Your job is to research and study that information. And because the internet has almost made us lazy. Right. We do not go and study the information, and we take 2 or 3 people's words for it. Somebody put up a site, they start blogging, they start talking, they sound like they know what they're talking about. They say all kind of stuff, and they lead you down some crazy pathway that you have and before you know it, your friends become your enemies, and your enemies become your friends. And you just lost. Right. And that's what's happening. When I talk to people, who engrossed in that, they just completely confused about what's going on. And they listen to these people, and these people become like internet activists. Right. I mean, because right now there's no prerequisite to be an activist. You can just call yourself that. Right. Just be angry at something and sign your name up to something and go to a protest. Now you're an activist. Right. That is, I mean, what qualifies you to call yourself an activist? Right. If you're an electrician, you got to turn people's lights on. You understand what I'm saying? You can't just run around calling yourself an electrician. These guys stuck around. They run around. I'm an activist. Right. Self-proclaimed activists running around here from one protest to the next protest to the next protest, calling themselves activists, have never activated anything. Right. Have never activated or created or developed or pushed something from one point to the other point, but they're activists. Right. And I'm an activist because I go to council meetings and yell. That's ridiculous. Right. It's ridiculous. I can count on my fingers how many council meetings that I went to when I was in that mode. Right. To push and do all those other kind of things, because the stuff I was trying to do wasn't able to be done at a council meeting. Right. You understand what I'm saying? Right. So we trying to push it. We trying to push in another direction. I mean, that doesn't qualify. We taught kids after school with our own money, knowledge of self, African American history. We didn't get a grant, a dime, a penny from nobody. We went to Oscar Miles, brought kids there, and taught them, after school. We did that, right? Black Need Force. We went in communities and organized street organizations. We did all of this stuff, and I'm not saying that to like as bragging. I'm saying that as like being instructive. This is what we did without any resources, without any money. Now that you have access to resources, you have access to money, you have access to support and help, you should be able to do twice as much as that, right? If you're doing less now than we were doing then there's a problem. Right. There's a problem, and you should be building on that, right? We so confused, man. We don't know who our enemies are. Right. We so confused. And I'm watching these people. I look at Facebook, these videos, all the stuff that people doing, and so we spend a lot of time attacking people who can help us get from point A to point B, and we do not focus on our real enemies. Because it's safe for me to say that I don't think we know who they are. I don't think we know.
So how would, well, first off, let me just say this. I remember back in the day when, when I first went to college, and it probably happened to you too. I remember they taught me how to use a library.
Yeah.
You talk to young kids today and they don't know how to use a library.
They don't have no library card.
Right. And because I was talking to one of my nieces, I said, now that you're a freshman in college, did they take you into the library? Did they show you how to use the library? I said, I remember that happening for me.
Yeah.
No.
Not at all.
And I'm like, wow. So I said, well, are y'all into reading books? And she's like, no, I do everything on my laptop. Everything is on my computer. I said, so how do you study Black history? Why Google it?
Yeah, it's terrible. But you can actually read a book on the internet.
Right.
You can do that.
Right.
Like, I don't want to, I'm not opposed to the technology itself.
No, me either.
You can download
Right. Me either.
A JPEG, whatever they call it. You can download the thing. You get a whole book.
Right.
You can even listen to the book on an audio now.
That's right.
You can listen to it,
Right.
So it's less work for you to do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You can actually do all of these things, right? It's just the time that it takes to do that is like counter to what it is that you're trying to do, right? It takes it's too much time.
Right.
And so we want things immediately. We want it right now. We want to be able to get the quickest output in the quickest time, the greatest output at the quickest time. That's what we want. And in studying, you actually have to do that. It's going to take time.
Right.
It's going to take time to study, right? It takes discipline. And that's why the higher you go in study, they call it your discipline. Right. Because you're disciplining your mind in that specific thing. If you don't have an attention span that's long enough to focus on a specific subject, then you're never going to master it. You got a master's degree and have not mastered anything.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Right. So
Yeah.
that's what it is. Like you spend all of this time, trying. You're supposed to be a master at something.
Right.
Then you go further. You get a doctorate degree. That means that you focus your time and attention on this specific subject, in the weeds of it for years.
Right.
So that you can become an expert at these specific things. Right. And the practice itself, you don't have to go to the university to do those practices. Right. You can do that practice on your own, particularly with the technology here. The universities are just set up to provide you structure and organization to force you to discipline your mind in that direction. You don't need that. The universities are set up to validate your discipline, your study.
Right.
We validated that this person did this study for this specific time, so we're going to give you this. Right. But it's such a sham now. You could do whatever you want. I can get an honorary degree. I got about 3 honorary degrees, by the way. Right. So I can give you you're an honorary master.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So at the end of the day, like our focus on study is not even real. It's not even real. These kids not going to school to learn.
Right.
They're going to school to make money.
Right. Right.
Right. That's the whole impetus of why you in school.
Right.
Because we want to make money. Right. You're not in school to be master a subject.
That's right.
Or to be a professional at this subject. You're there to make money. Yeah. And then what's happened is that because our kids are more brilliant than the system believes, they begin to understand that they can make money without school.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they figure out a pathway to make money quicker without the school and all the other stuff that comes with it. And so they out there thinking they can make this money in this pathway, without account for all the other systemic things that's going to put them in a bind. Right. But ultimately, they figure this is our pathway to make this money. Yeah. Since all this other stuff is not set up for us, we're going to go this pathway and we're going to make money because that's what it's about. Right. Right. It's not about it. There's very few people, in this time that want to be doctors because they're trying to find a cure for something. They think doctors make a lot of money. Right. It's very few people, I want to be a lawyer because they think lawyers make money. Right. That's simply what it is. And that's what we put in our children's minds at birth. Yeah. The problem with that is that we were the money. You understand what I'm saying? We were the money, right? They're teaching them how to make profit, but we were that property itself.
Right. Yeah.
Right. We were the property itself. We were the thing that was exchanged on the marketplace, to enrich this place. In the height of slavery in this country, and we talk about this 400 years, in the height of slavery in this country, 60% of America's gross national product, as GDP, was created by slavery and the distribution of internal slaves back and forth, making millions of dollars trading human beings and using the labor from human beings to enrich this country, right? And so we moved from that to where we are today. That's a hell of a jump, but it's not actually where we need to be altogether. So I mean, we just need to analyze and study that. I mean, our kids today, I go to school and talk, they be like, why are people always talking to us about slavery? Right? See, that thing in their mind, they don't even want to hear about the condition of their folks and what happened. Because we're ashamed of it.
Yeah, but to an extent, but also the parents don't want to teach their children that, right? We did a show with Dr. Sells and some other African study professors, and they were saying, and they were saying that some of the people they talked to, the parents tell them, well, I don't want that to stop my children from making progress.
Right.
If you tell them all that, then all of a sudden they start to hate the very people they got to go to and ask for a job instead of creating a job in their own mind for themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's the same thing. Actually, it doesn't cripple you; it empowers you.
Right. I know that.
Yeah, and I think that people who say that, it's just they just drowning in self-hatred.
Right.
It empowers you because what you begin to understand, one, is that you have the capability to do anything.
Right.
And two, if you knew the playing field and the rules in the playing field, you would be more successful at this game that you involve yourself in. But you are.
Wait a minute. You said that a little too fast, my brother. Say that again. The rules.
Yeah, like if you don't study what happened and what's going on, you can't even get in. Like you're first of all, you're entering 10 steps behind everybody else.
Right.
You're entering this thing 10 steps behind, and you don't know the rules, and you don't know how it's created, and you don't know the relationship to the game, right? So at least once you get an understanding of what's going on, you know what position you began. So you're not on the first floor thinking you're on the roof, right? So you begin to understand where you were, where you started from, right? Where you are now, and how far you have to go, and everything it takes to get you from point A to point B. We get in the game thinking we starting on an equal footing with everybody else, and we're not.
Right.
We began here, other people began there, right? And so there are a whole bunch of people in your history that fought hard to get you here. You still behind, but at least get you here, right? You understand what I'm saying? Right. You have to understand that process. What did they do to get us there? How did we begin there? And where am I at in relationship to those two specific places where I was at in the beginning? And how do I move forward? If you don't know that, then you're in bad shape, man. You just in bad shape. You think when families have a family business, right? And the great grandfather was making cogs in the wheel, right? And the great grandson now says, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to open up a beauty parlor. No, that's not happening. You know what I'm saying? He understands the history of his family and everything that was going on from the beginning to the end. He's going to figure out how to make cogs in his generation to put in that wheel to further the family business, because this is the wealth and the history and the information of our family and how to sustain it and march it on. Hell, we can't even keep Big Mama's house when she died.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the way the house go too.
Yeah.
We can't even keep the local fish joint that Pop put together. When Pop passed away, the fish joint goes.
I.e. Johnson & Johnson Publishing.
Listen,
right? Black Enterprise Magazine.
I'm just about John's place.
No, I know.
Jay's.
don't even exist no more. You're right.
Yeah, Miss Stewart's, you know what I mean?
Right.
Sure, Miss D's,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
The Chicken Shack on Clinton Avenue,
Yeah.
you know? Come on.
Yeah.
You know, the family passed away. The kids, we walk away from the business because we don't understand that family is business. And if you don't know the history of your family, right? If you're not connected to your family, and if you don't understand that your family is extended just beyond the 3 people you were introduced to when you came into this world, you don't even know your larger family, and then your relationship to the Black family, to the African American family, right? And their relationship to other people, right? How we don't even appreciate that. Other people appreciate their family roots and their ties. Even if they don't agree with everybody in their family, they have a connection to it.
That's right.
The voice you hear, of course, is brother. Welcome to the Mayor's Forum, man.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
brother.
That's,
Thank you, brother,
yes, sir.
man.
That's
Thank
that's
you.
Yes,
Brother
sir.
Minister Abdul Haq.
Thank you.
Welcome to Mayor Barack.
Jump in this
Mayor's
thing,
Forum,
man.
brother. You know.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, to be a part of that historic, momentous gathering that happened in Washington, D.C. 24 years ago. But I do believe that I am blessed to be the beneficiary of many of those immutable principles that were spoke about and that were trying to be implemented 24 years ago. I would just like to think that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan have taught us, and he says that no leader can want for the people more than the people want for themselves. He said, no leader can want for the people more than the people want for themselves. And I feel that one of the reasons that we as a people have not made the progress that we should and could make with all of the brilliant scholars, the courageous intellectuals, men and women, the fearless revolutionaries that we have had is because we as a people in particular, we put unreal expectations on our leader. So we ask our leaders to do things for us that God himself won't do for us. So there's a verse in the Holy Quran that says that man can have only what he strives for. That man can have only what he strives for. So Almighty God has created a universe, which we are taught is 76 quintillion miles in diameter. And he have put certain laws into place to govern this universe. And one of those laws is motion. And the third law of motion says that for every action, there's an opposite or equal reaction. So if you don't do nothing, you're not going to get nothing. We talk about what has happened since the Million Man March of 24 years later. I think we need to rephrase that and say, what have we made happen since the Million Man March? Because we don't believe in the mystery God. And I think one of the reasons that we are static and stagnant in our progress is because we have a conceptual problem as it relates to God and just life itself. We are a very spooky minded people, very ethereal, and we are not as pragmatic and as practical as those who have traditionally opposed and oppressed us. Yes, white folks have done evil, but that did not stop them from putting a spaceship in the air and going to the moon, because they followed certain universal laws that God put in place. And by following those laws, submitting and mastering those laws, then they have been able to reap the benefits from the universe that God has created. So it rains on the just and the unjust. So I think, that's one of the reasons that we have not made the type of progress that we could and should make as a people, with all of the brilliant men and women, the teachers that have come before us, that have taught us, and that have instructed us, along with many other things.
So in that, I would ask you and the mayor. So in that, are we waiting on Mayor Baraka to make it happen?
Oh, we think
Is that what it is?
we think the mayor is Jesus.
Oh yeah.
He is the mayor of the city. He's not God.
So he invite the $40 million man, and so we don't do nothing because the mayor didn't make it. He didn't run him down and say, make sure you give everybody in here a job. So we were waiting on you to do it, man.
Listen, we're expecting the mayor to do things that God himself won't do. God says in the Holy Quran that he changes the condition of a people until they change their own condition. One of the scriptures that were highlighted at the Million Man March was 2 Chronicles 7:14, where it says, if my people, which are called by my name, See, we just got to stop at the if. If is a hypothesis.
Right.
You understand? Mean that if is based on a condition. You understand? If my people, which are called by my name, would do thus and thus and thus and thus, then I, the Lord, will hear from heaven, and then will heal their land. So God being present does not mean automatic salvation. It's something that you have to do. Many of us have heard the scripture, the book of John, chapter 10, verse 10. And we quote it wrong, where they talk about Jesus. He said, I've come that you will have life and more life abundantly. But that's not what it says. It says, I've come that you might have life. See, and that you might have life more abundantly. Might is a term of condition. See, I'm going to give you all the tools that's necessary, but your success is going to be based and predicated on what you do with what I give you. So my presence don't mean automatic salvation. My teaching don't mean automatic salvation. So if you do X, Y, and Z, then you'll be successful. But if you don't do it, you will not be successful. I mean, it's as simple as that. Simple mathematics. 1 + 1 = 2. You understand? It's nothing more, nothing less. It's scientific. You understand? But I think a lot of times we apply the spiritual where we should be applying the reality. You understand? So, you know.
So if the mayor don't do it, if the mayor don't get me signed up for that $40 million job, I ain't gonna do it, huh?
Well, I hope you will do it.
History is all of our studies, the most attractive and best qualified to reward our research. Look at how many brilliant teachers that we as a people in particular have had. Marcus Garvey, Noble Drew Ali, Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass, Huey P. Newton, Malcolm. It's so many brilliant, courageous, fearless leaders that have concretized and given us a programmatic system for us to take what they have given us, implement it, and make progress. But we have not done that. And therefore, we are at where we at. We can't blame anybody but ourselves. There's an old adage which says a man was in a boat and he asked God to send him help. Right. God sent him a man in a helicopter, and I'm gonna wait for God. God sent him a man, throw him a rope, and I'm gonna wait for God. The man drowned. He gets to heaven, say, God, I called on you. He said, I sent you help. I sent you a man with a helicopter. I sent you a man with a rope. And that's us. You don't eat, you'll starve to death.
That's right.
I mean, it's as simple as that, brother.
Yeah. Some of us locked in the supermarket and we still starving.
Brother, it's as simple as that, brother. God raised up Moses. Jehovah raised up Moses in the midst of the quote unquote Egyptians, guided them. And they still languished with all of the guidance that God gave them. Why? Because they were too trifling to take what he had given them, utilize it, and make it happen. He offered them a promised land. But he said, it's something you got to do. Go spy out the land. They went to spy out the land. They saw giants. They came back. No, we ain't going in there. It's giants in there. He said, well, you're going to sit here, languish, and die. Because they were too cowardly and too lazy to do work to take advantage of what God had given them. That's us. That's right. There's giants in the land that we don't want to conquer. And many of those giants are our own self-defects. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, if we want to make progress, we got to get our own foot out of our own way.
Wow. You know, it's interesting too, in that analogy with that story with the giants. You know, David, you know, who finally went through that, was the person that people least expected and believed that would be able to go and defeat those giants. And that has a lot to do with this, you know, the kind of self-hatred that we have. You know, I watch us in these communities beat up on the very people who are sparring with those giants every day. In fact, we are taking attention away from them. We have to stop what we're doing and fight other people and not spend our time fighting these giants who are out here. And you know, that's what made me think of that immediately, man. You know, it's just what the brother's saying is 100% factual, man.
And all David had was a smooth stone.
A smooth stone.
That's all he had. See, when God is with you, who can be against you? We quote it and we say it, but we are not implementing and putting it into practice. You understand? But The God is talking about is not a mystery God. See, God means force and power. So if the Spirit of God is with you, then there's no mountain that you can't say to it, be ye plucked up or be ye removed. Now, this mountain, the Honorable Minister Lewis says, not so much a physical mountain, but the mountain could be a habit that you have. You understand, a defect that you have, some knowledge that you are missing. But if you have faith, the grain of a mustard seed, you can say to any problem, any situation, any circumstance, be removed, and it will be that. Instead of waiting on somebody else to remove the mountain, you'll have the strength and the power and the courage to move that mountain yourself.
Yes,
And we are saddled with mountains that we are building, that we are building. You understand? That have to be eradicated and moved. And if we don't move the mountain, then somebody else gonna come and move the mountain for us. If we don't lay the lead pipes, somebody else is gonna come and lay the lead pipes for us. So I close with this. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan teaches us about the law of use. They say if you don't use something, you lose what it is to use. So we have the talent, we have the skills, losing it for ourselves.
Yeah.
So those who have the knowledge, they're coming and using us because we won't use ourselves. So if you won't use yourself, somebody else will use you.
That's you know that's interesting, man. Because
that's right.
First off, let me from Bob Law and Charles.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They said to give you the shout out, brother. They was actually gonna come out tonight. They said to shout you.
Hold the line.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna tell them that for you, man. But here's the thing I'm at, right? Remember back in the day when you know we used to do, which is what Bob and them are doing tonight. Remember, used to go to churches, and we talking about on a Friday, bro.
Yeah, Herkimer Street.
Right, remember that?
That's right.
And I'm saying and I think the closest, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying that because if it comes back down to what you're saying with information, and then it comes back down to what brother just said, making stuff happen. And it's about information. So how do we?
Hundreds of people in there.
Right.
Hundreds.
Right. I remember on a Friday, bro. We used to travel from Newark.
It's a different
all the
time
way to
period
Brooklyn,
too.
You know.
And you had those celebrities in there. People came because celebrities was there too. Daddy O from Stetson Sonic.
Right.
We dating ourselves a little bit here. Dougie Fresh and Chuck. It was hitting people with.
Right.
You know, and come to hear a rap concert.
Nah.
They came to see those rappers, but when they came in there, nobody singing.
Right.
You know, the information they were getting was like bam, 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 bam. You couldn't help but to leave out of there with something. And you're right, those things that need to happen. It's like we talked before. I mean, every year we used to go to these 3 or 4 conferences.
Right.
Medgar Evers conference, the Malcolm X conference, this conference, that conference. You know, everything where people of like minds and other people, you can bring people to conference, get information, find out the latest books, talk to authors, debate people. You know, now you don't have to debate nobody. You just put a phony name, a fake picture on the internet, and just troll people all day. And that's
and that's exactly what's happening.
That's exactly.
And you know, I think that as a people, we don't understand the value and the importance of leadership. So Marcus Garvey said, having had the wrong kind of education, the Negro has become his own greatest enemy. He said, most of the trouble I've had in trying to advance the race has come from the Negro. Then he said that there is an aptitude of the Negro to always disobey orders coming from himself. So as a people, because we are beset with jealousy and envy, and we don't know the importance of leadership, then we devalue it and we don't take care of our leadership like those who have traditionally oppressed us take care and value their leadership. So many times our revolutions don't last long because the revolutionary, he needs to eat. He needs food. I mean, life is real. You understand? So when a revolutionary stops being altruistic and start being realistic, we say that nigga's a sellout. But when he was on the front lining for you, trying to revolutionize for you, you did not support him. So, and I'm going to get you sucker. They said, what happened to all the revolutionaries? They got government jobs.
That's right.
Because we have failed to sustain a degree of economic independence that would allow for our brilliant brothers and sisters to be able to fight for the cause You understand? And be able at the same time to take care of themselves, to do for themselves.
Yeah.
You understand? But part of it again is because we have this issue of self-hate that has plagued us as a people for centuries. And we have had the knowledge to combat it.
Yeah.
But we are, I would say, to a degree behind enemy lines, and we can't dismiss the fact that while we are sitting here right now talking, somebody is listening. The Bible says the wicked watcheth the righteous and seeketh to slay them.
Right.
So we are being watched. They're listening. Who's that brilliant brother?
Right.
Oh, he's brilliant. And then they want to disconnect the talented ones of our community from the ignorant masses and put you up in a smoke-filled room in an office. No, you stay here and you work on this thing to help us out. Don't go to them niggas because they don't appreciate you. You understand? So they've always sought to separate the talented tenth, as they called it, from the ignorant masses, so that those who have the brilliance would not transfer it to our people. And that's why a man like Mayor Ras J. Baraka is so dangerous to the system, because he's been imbued with the spirit of revolution, but he has not abandoned his community like many so-called Negroes and She-Gros that we know and are accustomed to, that get that knowledge. And man, I'm going to Montclair. You niggas are on your own. May God bless you. I'll tweet some stuff out. You know, so.
But that's the question, huh? So man,
some nice houses in Montclair.
Yeah, like some dude stood up. Like some dude stood up at the water town hall, and he was giving you some flack, and you said you don't even live in Newark.
Yeah, he's from West Orange.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Right. But man, so
he had like 5 addresses.
Yeah,
gotta be careful for these people, man.
Right. So,
but careful.
But here's the thing, man, and I know you gonna remember this, man.
And he started walking towards the stage.
He did. You saw that, right?
He would have been in trouble if he got on that stage.
Right, but here's it. But hold on, check. But man, check this out, right?
I'm from Newark for real.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. But I said that to you last time you was here. I'm saying, what do they think you? I mean, because I said this to Minnie was sitting there too. I said, don't let the suits fool you, man. Like, don't get that confused. You know. But he was walking towards you. You're right.
Yeah.
Man. So what I was thinking about was, I remember when Amiri was alive and we were downtown in Newark, and this was when those white kids that came over from New York, and when we was all down, and you was on the council at the time, and these white kids, you know, they came over from New York, and remember Amiri pointed toward City Hall, right, and then he pointed toward Prudential, and this is to your point, he said what you want to do is make Prudential pay their bill, then he said if you want to really be revolutionary, he said go take over City Hall. Right. So here's what the mayor's done. Right. And now we've got all these activists who want to say my brother ain't an activist, right? Language, sell out and all of this, and can't even hold his shoestring when it comes to his knowledge, right? So what I'm saying is when you start talking about David and you start talking about him using a smooth edge rock and he went and he slayed the giant, right? And the conversation we're not having, man, and that we should be having is that, and of course I know you try to do it at the men's meeting, but I guess the conversation we should be having, because Bob Law said this to me today, we should be organizing with the people that want to organize with us.
That's real,
right?
That's right. That's 100% right. Yeah. You have to organize with people that you compatible, like and be like. And we say when I was a young man, right? You gotta organize with those folks, and then try to expand that information, and get other people to come along with you. But only information is going to do that, man. Only knowledge and information and light is the only thing that does, can erase darkness, brother. Truth is the only thing that make falsehood vanish. Right. That's the only thing, brother. You have to bring knowledge. You can't scare people into organizing. Right. You can't tell them the boogeyman is coming in to organize them. You can't tell them, the whole world is falling apart. It's going to come down on you, because the world has been falling apart for them for all their life. Right. So you can't tell somebody, the world is falling apart. It's already fell apart for me. You know what I'm saying? The city is a mess. It's been a mess for me and my father and my father's father. That's how they feel. Like I grew up on this block forever.
Right.
It's always been this way. You can't tell me things are bad. I know they bad.
Right.
What I want from you is to tell me how they gonna get better.
Right.
And what do I have to do to make them better?
I think, and we must understand that revolution, change, has never been a mass movement. Jesus,
That's right.
if you believe that, only had 12 people with him. You know, Muhammad, in the beginning, it took him 3 years just to get 40. You understand? So change has never been a mass movement with a large contingency of people. You understand? So we must never think that the masses of the people are going to be about the change that a lot of times we know that they need. For we are taught that 85% of the people, 85% of the people are poison animal eaters, slaves from mental death and power, people who do not know the living God of their origin in this world, and those who worship that they know not what, who are easily led in the wrong direction, but hard to lead into the right direction. That's 85% of the people, you understand, who are being controlled by just a small few. You want to call them the Illuminati, the occult society, whatever you want to call them. Right. We know that the masses of the people are always being herded and shepherded in the wrong direction. So never expect a mass movement, you understand, of people to get on the bandwagon, to be all on the same page, because history teaches us that's just not the case. You understand? So there's a parable in the Bible about this general. And he had all these people with him, and God said, no, go down to the river, drink a certain kind of way. If they don't drink if they don't drink like this, then you get rid of them. He went down there with thousands, and by the end of it all, he only had 300. So, you know, we can't keep expecting for the masses or the majority, you understand, to be about the movement, because that's just not what it is. But those of us who are like-minded, you understand, who do have the same agenda and same goal in mind, then we work hard and we work diligently to try to drown out the ignorance of those who may not necessarily be here for our best interest.
I think that's it, man. I think that from where we stand, man, I think that, you know, those who want to organize with us, because I consider myself a member of the ministry. And I think that, you know, hold the line. And I think that, you know, I think that what amazes most people, like you know, when white people hear us say that, when you know, when you did that at the NJ PAC, and you said hold the line, all the brothers said hold the line, the white folks look around, what, they gonna tie us up?
Couple black folks too.
You know what I mean? They're like what? Yeah. You were there, right? When we said hold the line, they said, oh, what you got soldiers up in here? What's going on? Wait a minute, don't you got the police, but you got all these brothers too? See what I mean? So I think, man, I think
that's what we have to do, though, man.
Yeah.
Even at the water thing, when those guys got up, regular residents jumped up out of their seat.
Yeah.
And I heard them yelling over the line and moving towards, because what you're doing is radicalizing within the community, not by scaring them, by giving them information, and they feel empowered with information. And what it does, like we say, it soups them up. It makes them feel like I'm gonna break a brick. Right? This is something that we gotta protect this thing, right? And so they're gonna stand up. You ain't gotta do nothing. Them people gonna stand up and give their life, even some of them, before this thing goes in a different direction. And that's what we gotta put people. That's what people are. That's what they're really afraid of. That part of it. Right. They're afraid of that determination, that commitment to it. To the extent that I don't care what you're saying, you know, you're not gonna harm this guy, or you're not gonna harm this sister, or you're not gonna do nothing about this. That's what they're afraid of. That's the part of it, that radicalization of it that makes people feel like, oh, wait a minute, you know, these guys are taking this too far. Like when I tell people at the men's meeting, go to Essex County College, go sit in the classroom, get the information, just do it, make them put you out. That's right. Like when you start telling people that, and a brother actually went down there and did it. Wow. And actually did it, right? and found out how he could actually get into the school and enrolled. That was a whole different other story, but he actually went in there and sat in the class and did it anyway. That kind of stuff. People say, hey, wait a minute, man, this is going too far. And then I said, y'all lie on me all the time. Please pull you over. You said, I know the mayor. That's what I said. So I'm giving you permission. When you go sit in the class, you tell him, well, the mayor said I could come in here and get this education for free. Now you can blame that one on me.
Yo, man, we're out of time, man. But man, just give us an update. How's everything going with the construction, with the
Oh
the
man,
prison
they
lines,
out
all that?
here. They doing 1,000 lead service lines a month. We got an $80 million, $240 million contracts out. We trying to get these people to hire local folks. They are hiring some subcontracting with businesses. But we got to make them do more. I called one company in, read them the riot act. They came to the men's meeting because they're saying we can't find people like they usually say. I said there's a whole group of people that I know of, so we brought them there, and I don't want to be disappointed. Like we have to be aggressive about this thing, man. We can't allow $120 million to be given out in this community and we don't get a part of it.
Right. Absolutely, man. So, any final words?
Hey, man, I'm glad to be here. Thank the brother minister for being here with us
you,
today.
brother minister.
Thank you
You
for
know,
having
talking
me.
about the Million Man March. We appreciate you, man.
Thank
the work that you're doing in the city. You know, Godspeed to all of us, man.
Yes, sir.
Hey, listen, man, we want to thank y'all. Y'all just heard the mayor. He's just closed out the mayor's forum. We want to thank y'all so much for listening. We're going to take a break, and then, of course, we're going to come back. And, of course, y'all know Brother Abdul, Minister Haq, does his own show here called The Disciples. So, you know, y'all can catch him next week, right?
Next week,
Next week, he'll be back
6
on.
o'clock.
All right?
Pastor Roundtree, Pastor Ali. We'll be here, God willing.
All right? So we're going to take a break. Hey, man, we need to take some pictures with you before
let's
you
do
leave,
it.
brother. All right, so we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come right back. Of course, we're going to come back with Asia Norton and her guest, and we're going to get this conversation started about young black male teachers, all right?
On the show,
You listen to America's number one
Yes, sir, man.
political
Yes,
hip hop radio talk show. All right, all politics are local, baby. You ready to get around? All right, here we go.